Welcome, Rotarians and guests, to the Rotary Club of York, where our mission is to improve life in the city of York by connecting our club's diverse community leaders through fellowship, action, and service. I'm your president, Wilda Reen. And as you know, we start off our meetings by reciting the four-way test. Please join me. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Today, our opening song, America the Beautiful, and the Pledge will be led by Steve Feldman, followed by the invocation by past President Glenn Miller and visitor introductions by Sarah Bradley.
Rotarians and guests, please join me. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, friends. Please prepare yourselves for prayer in the manner in which you are accustomed. Henry David Thoreau writes, "We need the tonic of wilderness. At the same time that we are earnest to explore and learn all things, we require that all things be mysterious and unexplorable, the land and the sea be indefinitely wild, unsurveyed and unfathomed by us because they are unfathomable. Lord of all creation, we give thanks for the unfathomable beauty, grandeur, and majesty of your creation, a gift from your hand to your creatures, entrusted to us with its stewardship and care. We give thanks to you today for our speaker and for the important work with the Susquehanna National Heritage Area, safeguarding our local and regional treasures of the land and its history. Lead us all to embrace what you've entrusted to us with loving care and to appreciate the restorative power that it holds for our lives and our communities. Bless now the food that we have received, the hands that have prepared it, the fellowship and sharing and friendship that has surrounded it. To you, the one God of many names, we pray. Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to have the honor today of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Wilda has welcomed you. First, we have our visiting Rotarian, Joanne Bankos from the East York Rotary Club. Welcome, Joanne. We have Michael Cutie, guest of the membership community. Randy Parker, guest of Joan Mummert. Jonathan Pinkerton, guest of Joan. Joan, you have the gold star today. Guest of Joan Mummert. Kara Yost, guest of Joan Mummert. And Braden Danbury, guest of John Kleindienst. Guests, we're so glad to have you here with us today. Whether this is your first visit or you're back again, it's always a pleasure to have new faces in the room. If what you see here today resonates with you, we'd love to have you consider becoming part of our Rotary family. Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors. You may be seated. You may be seated. And now for our announcements this week. If you are looking forward to getting your Rotary gear today, I'm sorry to say that you're going to have to wait till next week. So this is our ploy in getting you to come to Rotary every week. But it definitely will be here next week. And the Membership Recruitment Committee will meet at 1:30 this afternoon after the meeting in the Mixed Grill. The York Rotary Foundation Board of Directors will also meet at 1:30 after this meeting in the Terrace Room. The IDEA Committee will meet on June 1st at 9 o'clock on Zoom, and the Fundraising Projects Committee will meet on June 3rd at 8 o'clock on Zoom. And the Membership Engagement Committee extends congratulations to Jack Rhodes on the anniversary of his 40th year as a member of our club. He joined this week in 1986. Is Jack here? Oh, okay. All right. And now I invite Carrie Ebeling to the podium on behalf of the Youth Exchange Committee.
Hello. So while I am a member of the Youth Exchange Committee, I'm going to ask all of the other committee members on Youth Exchange to please stand because you'll want to know who they are as I get done talking. So I do just want to take just a minute and we, all of us standing, that is, yes, standing, have a very, very simple ask. And that is that we are in need of host families. Now, don't panic. We're not asking you to raise children over. We're not asking you to teach them how to drive. But we are asking you to maybe consider giving 3 months of your life and helping a student from another country. We have a very bright young lady coming from India this year, and we are looking for 3 host families to help give her an amazing experience. So what you do get is to open up your home, teach a young person about our culture, but in return, you also get to learn a lot about them. And I've heard from various people today. I know Walt just came back from a graduation of a youth exchange student that he had years ago. Those relationships really last for a lifetime. And we really change lives through the program. So if you're even remotely considering something like this, or you know a family in the York Suburban School District, we would love for you to put us in touch with them. And again, the people that stood up, you can talk to any of us to learn more. So thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. I was one of those individuals we were talking about. My parents hosted several exchange students growing up and stay in touch with most of them. And it was always fun for me as learning about different cultures and meeting young people from around the world. So next up, we have a strategic planning update. So since the beginning of the implementation of our club's 3-year strategic plan in 2024, we've remained intentional about bringing that plan to life, not allowing it to sit on a shelf as some strategic plans do, but using it as a daily guide for action, accountability, and decision-making. As we enter the final 6 months of the current plan, we can clearly see the progress that we've made, excuse me, while also recognizing the significant work still ahead as we continue the challenge of turning the Titanic. Meaningful change is never easy, especially in organizations with deep traditions and longstanding practices, but growth requires a willingness to evolve, adapt, and move forward together. Our board reviews the strategic plan monthly, ensuring each committee has the support, alignment, and direction needed to make measurable progress. Today's update highlights the meaningful strides we've made over the past several months and how those efforts continue to move the club towards its long-term vision. So to refresh your memory, our plan focuses on 4 key priorities: create an engaged and diverse membership, increase our service impact with a focus on youth success in the city, increase awareness and understanding of our organization, aligned governance and resources to support our club priorities. So I encourage you to view our full strategic plan anytime on our website under our mission. So the first up is engaged and diverse membership. So our membership engagement is strong. Recruitment continues, and our members are actively shaping the future of our club. In February, the Membership Recruitment Committee partnered with 5 young professional and leadership organizations to host a Rotary recruitment event at Northern Central Railway. With more than 60 attendees, the event was a powerful opportunity to introduce new audiences to Rotary and expand awareness of our mission and impact. And one of our guests was at that event in February. So living out our commitment as people of action, the Membership Engagement Committee responded directly to member feedback from the annual survey by launching new opportunities for connection and involvement. This included 2 successful biz tours with a third planned for June 4th, along with our first ever new member happy hour, all designed to strengthen relationships and deepen member engagement. In April, the York Rotary Foundation Fund Development Committee introduced a new donor recognition program to celebrate and inspire philanthropic support for the York Rotary Foundation, helping position us for even greater local impact in the years ahead. Together, these efforts are strengthening our culture, deepening connections, and positioning our club for sustained growth and long-term success. In service impact, our members continue to exemplify the meaning of service above self through projects that create meaningful and lasting impact across our community. In March, Rotary Reads 2.0 partnered with the York County Agricultural Society, mobilizing 40 Rotarians to read in 29 first grade classrooms in 8 schools throughout York City. The Youth Leadership Committee modernized a long-standing Rotary tradition by reimagining the 4-way test essay contest into a digital storytelling initiative. 41 students living in the city of York submitted either a video or social media post sharing how young people can help create a kinder, fairer, and more truthful future. 6 students were selected for recognition and cash prizes across each of those categories. The committee also welcomed 12 students from the Advantage program prior to one of our weekly meetings in April, providing students with firsthand exposure to Rotary while giving our members an opportunity to invest in the next generation of leaders. The Student Education Committee continues to see remarkable results from its intentional strategy to expand awareness of scholarship opportunities for both traditional and non-traditional students. Over the past 3 years, applications have increased by 67%, and culminating in a record-breaking 532 completed applications this year. It's a powerful reflection of both growing community need and the committee's commitment to expanding access to education. Meanwhile, the Service Project Development Committee met just yesterday to review 15 of 28 submitted project applications and identify finalists for the club's next signature service initiative. The process now moves into site visits and additional vetting before the final project announcement. And under community revitalization, Rotary members participated in 2 major tree planting initiatives in April. April was a very busy month for Rotary. The first was a collaborative effort with the County of York and 7 other Rotary clubs in York County to commemorate America's 250th birthday and York County's did I say that right? Commemorate America's 250th birthday and York County's 275th anniversary. Together, Rotarians planted 72 Liberty trees across all 72 municipalities in York County. And just 2 weeks later, 17 volunteers came together for our annual city tree planting, adding 31 more trees throughout York City neighborhoods. These projects are creating visible, lasting change, strengthening our environment, beautifying our community, and demonstrating Rotary's continued commitment to service and action. And increasing our awareness and understanding of Rotary in our community, we intentionally expanded how Rotary is seen and understood throughout York. For Give Local York, our role evolved from fundraiser to funder as we sponsored the Cultivate Youth Success Lunch Hour Prize. Through this initiative, 5 $500 prizes were awarded to organizations serving youth in York City, reinforcing the Rotary Club of York's role as a catalyst for community impact. Our members-only Facebook group also continues to grow, now reaching 132 members. This page is a space for you, our members, to share service opportunities, celebrate member accomplishments, share news about members, and stay connected between weekly meetings. So when you're out in the community and you run into other Rotarians, please be sure to snap a photo, share it on the page so we can see where our Rotarians are out in the wild. Together, these efforts are helping us increase visibility, strengthen engagement, and ensure that more people understand who we are and why Rotary matters. In aligning governance and resources, we know that strong organizations are built through intentional leadership, planning, and alignment. And as you know, the real work gets done in committees. Last week, incoming President Doug convened committee leadership earlier than in previous years, creating additional time for planning, collaboration, and leadership transition before the new year, Rotary year begins in July 1. You, Doug. This proactive approach strengthens continuity, improves accountability, and helps ensure our committees are prepared to begin the year with clarity, momentum, and purpose. So what's next? The momentum continues. Another Rotary Means Business event is scheduled for July 30th, further strengthening professional connections, member engagement, and fellowship opportunities within the club, and again, showcasing our York Rotary Club as a trailblazer in our district. In the coming months, we will also announce the projects selected by the Service Project Development Committee, an initiative that will reflect both our values and our commitment to high-impact community service. And at the same time, President-elect nominee Kelly Gibson has already begun the process of updating our strategic plan through stakeholder interviews and feedback conversations. As we begin to build on the progress of the past 3 years, we've remained focused on innovation, sustainability, and continuing to serve as a trailblazer within our district. In closing, I'm incredibly proud of what we've accomplished together this year, and I want to sincerely thank our members for the time, ideas, energy, and leadership they have contributed to bringing this strategic plan to life. Our committees and members have transformed strategic priorities into meaningful action, and that progress is visible throughout our club and our community. At the same time, we recognize that not every priority advances at the same pace. Some initiatives naturally take longer to achieve, and some committees have worked through the challenge of redefining their purpose and identifying how they can best contribute to the club's long-term vision. That work is important too. We encourage every committee to think creatively, challenging traditional approaches and exploring how their efforts can move the strategic plan forward in meaningful ways. We are not simply setting goals, we are actively delivering on them. And while there is still important work ahead, the momentum we are building is undeniable. This is what it looks like to be people of action. That is our strategic plan update for the year. I think my last one for this year. So it's exciting to see everything that's been happening, and a great, as I start the closeout of my year as president, it's exciting to see all the progress that we've made as a club. And again, it's not something you do alone. It takes all of you to get all of these things done and rally behind the club and make a difference in our community. So thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Frank Dittenhefer to the podium to introduce our speaker for today.
Thank you, President Wilda. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker today, Peter Miele, Senior Project Leader with Susquehanna National Heritage Area. I first got to know Pete several years ago when he worked at the Seminary Ridge Museum and Education Center in Gettysburg, which was just opening, and where he spent more than 11 years, including 4 years as president and executive director. Little did I know that we would reconnect years later through SNHA and the Susquehanna Discovery Center project, of which Pete will tell you a lot more. Pete Miele is a public historian, a museum administrator, and teacher, earning his BA in history and secondary education from Ramapo College in New Jersey and an MA in applied history from Shippensburg University. His scholarship has appeared in multiple publications, including Pennsylvania History and Gettysburg Magazine. I asked Pete for a few personal tidbits that people may not know, and instead I received a perfectly composed, complete introduction for my use. So I will use parts of it, paraphrasing as Pete stated that he was proudly reared in northern New Jersey and moved to central Pennsylvania in the cold, dark days of January 2013. And within 6 short months, he had found employment as a visitor services assistant at Gettysburg's new Seminary Ridge Museum, and was soon giving tours of the building's historic cupola to then Governor Tom Corbett and Senator Pat Toomey. A few years later, Pete was looking for a new challenge, and he learned about the Susquehanna Discovery Center and Heritage Park project in, he says, far off Wrightsville. The Mifflin farm, like Seminary Ridge, was both an underground railroad station and Civil War battle site. Pete thought, this might just work. Since July of 2024, that's soon to be 2 years later, Miele has been leading the SDC project for Susquehanna National Heritage Area, including the master planning process, overseeing initial public access improvements, opening the site to visitors just last year for the first time, managing capital campaign planning and initiating interpretive planning. And because he's got so much free time on his hands, Miele moonlights, or daylights as he calls it, because the class is at 8 a.m., as an adjunct professor of history at York College, teaching a freshman American history class covering the period from the Civil War to the present. And if that's not enough, he's a student in the PhD program in American Studies at Penn State Harrisburg, completing a dissertation that examines Gettysburg's Eternal Light Peace Memorial in history, memory, and myth. Beyond Pete's suggested commentary, I would just add to his very impressive history credentials that Pete has a great sense of humor. He's a wonderful storyteller. He's a funny guy. Please welcome Pete Miele.
Thank you, Frank. I'm here with you today because this house stands and has for 225 years. This house stands as a place of courage, collaboration, conflict, and conscience. It's our tangible connection to American histories and the stories of the past. It was made of local stone, quarried from the nearby property, and its layout has changed little in the last 2¼ centuries. This house rose in 1801 when a newly married Quaker couple, Jonathan and Susquehanna Mifflin, moved to the property seeking to settle into the lives of country farmers. Jonathan was a veteran of the Revolutionary War and a merchant from Philadelphia, and his wife, Susquehanna, was Riverlands gentry, descending from John Wright Sr., who settled Wrightsville in Columbia. She inherited the property from her father, acting as a landlord before her marriage. This house stood in 1804 when Jonathan Mifflin became an investor in the Susquehanna and York Turnpike Road, which connected the Susquehanna River to York, running past the farm lane that connected the farm to the outside world. The house also stood in 1814 when Jonathan Mifflin invested in the first bridge over the Susquehanna River, connecting Philadelphia with the interior of the United States. Thousands of settlers crossed this bridge and passed by the house on the turnpike as they spread a uniquely American culture through the interior of the nation. The house stood as nearby canals stretched north and south, and railroads connected east and west, turning Columbia and Wrightsville into a cultural and commercial crossroads, connecting the frontier with the eastern seaboard. The house stood in 1824 when a 15-year-old black indentured servant named Stephen Jones slipped away from the farmhouse to claim his freedom. His time was owned by Jonathan Mifflin, but Jones would not abide. This story shows the contradictions in the Quaker opposition to slavery. Chattel slavery was evil, but indentured servitude was not. This house stood as Samuel Mifflin, the son of Jonathan and Susquehanna, began aiding his parents in helping freedom seekers. Samuel would open the house to those seeking refuge, but would also join, getting involved in politics, joining the Liberty Party as a delegate, and contributing money to the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society. This house stood on a rainy night in 1840 when 13 freedom seekers knocked on the door seeking refuge as they escaped the brutality of slavery. This house provided them warmth, cover, and security while they waited in the dark for days for the swelled river to go down. They left this house, crossed the property to meet with a free black boatman named Robert Loney, who rowed the 13 across the mile-wide river to Columbia. This house stood on a night in 1845 when a Black Baptist preacher named Perry Wilkinson knocked at the door. Within the walls, Wilkinson paced back and forth throughout the night, deciding whether to continue north or return to slavery and to his family in Anne Arundel County, Maryland. When the sun rose, he renewed his journey towards freedom. This house stood in 1846 when a New England abolitionist by the name of Charles Torrey, heading south to Baltimore to help encourage freedom seekers to escape, was looking for a place to spend the night. Torrey continued on to Baltimore, where he was imprisoned for his actions and died of tuberculosis. This house stood in the summer of 1863 when federal militia were ordered to protect the bridge crossing over the Susquehanna River from invading Confederates. These militiamen, some of them black laborers from Columbia, dug trenches on the northern, western, and southern edges of town on the fields just below this house. Some of these soldiers visited a spring house nearby, securing milk. This house stood on the evening of June 28, 1863, when thousands of Confederates appeared on the western edge of town. Cannon shells from Confederate guns fired, two of the guns eventually moving up to the ridge on which the house sits. The Confederate infantry used the ridge and the house to cover their march from the federal militia, flanking them, dislodging them, and sending those militia forces across the bridge. The house stood as Columbians ignited fuel oil and kerosene on that bridge, engulfing it in flames and keeping the Confederates out of Lancaster County, destroying in the process this vital commercial and cultural link. The glow of that fire could be seen from as far away as Harrisburg. From the front porch of this house, the Confederates could be seen marching back west to fight at a place called Gettysburg. Days after the Battle of Gettysburg, hundreds of wagons passed the house after making the ferry crossing across the river as they traveled to Adams County to provide aid to the men that were broken in battle. This house stood as a summer retreat for the Huber family for more than 50 years as people came to enjoy the country air, sweeping vistas. It continued to be farmed by tenants whose names are lost to history. This house stood as the Veterans Memorial Bridge spanning the Susquehanna opened in 1931. You can see it right down there in the corner. And the bridge carried cars across the coast-to-coast Lincoln Highway. This house stood as Harry and Anna Blessing purchased their first cows and started a thriving dairy operation that eventually included 100 cattle and multiple farms. This house stood as the Blessing family entered into a developer's agreement and began selling off pieces of their property for commercial warehouse development. They were assured that the house and the farm, the historic farmstead, would remain. This house stood when Donnie Blessing learned of a plan to demolish the historic house and outbuildings. Donnie raised the alarm in town, imploring people to, quote, help me save my house. This house stood when the community rallied on Cool Springs Road to save it from destruction. It stood during the hundreds of hours of meetings, public and private, as people worked to keep it from being razed. This house stood when Preservation Pennsylvania, Susquehanna National Heritage Area, and the Conservation Fund worked with the developer and the Blessing family to purchase 87 acres, including the historic buildings, saving this land for future generations. This house stood on December 20th, 2023, when Susquehanna National Heritage Area purchased the land thanks to the generosity of the Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, York County Commissioners, and York's philanthropic foundations. This house will stand to be transformed into an Underground Railroad learning center, a place where visitors will discover the courage, conscience, and collaboration inherent in America's first integrated civil rights movement, the Underground Railroad. This house will stand to become part of a network of sites, including the Goodridge Freedom Center, Crispus Attucks History and Culture Center, the York History Center, and the Thaddeus Stevens and Lydia Hamilton Smith Center for History and Democracy, and other heritage sites which stretch across our heritage area and beyond, telling this American story of resistance. This house will stand as the nearby barn is transformed into the Susquehanna Discovery Center, a world-class visitor destination sharing the nationally important stories of America's 55th National Heritage Area, centering on our 4 interpretive themes: how the river shapes this place and its people, native landscapes, creating an American identity, and turning points. This house will stand as the farm becomes home to the new Susquehanna River Museum of Art, York County's first art museum, telling the story of an American landscape art movement which began along the banks of this ancient river. Visitors will experience works of art dating back nearly 400 years, works painted by iconic American artists like Thomas Cole and Jasper Cropsey, and see the river depicted on teapots, plates, and serving trays. This house will stand as 4 miles of walking trails are constructed on the historic agricultural fields, creating opportunities to learn about the paths of freedom seekers, the Battle of Wrightsville, and the natural history of the region, all while enjoying the benefits of outdoor recreation. This house will stand as the community of Wrightsville finds a place to connect with each other and the region through our walking trails, grabbing a cup of coffee at our grab-and-go cafe, or attending one of our many educational programs. This house will stand as buses full of school students will pull up to discover the history, culture, art, and nature of this county, state, and region. This house will stand as thousands of tourists who would have otherwise just driven past will stop in Wrightsville to learn about what makes our region unique. They will learn about the charm of York and Lancaster County and be encouraged to visit communities that make up our region. This house will stand because of the continued philanthropic support of this community, region, state, and the nation. It is part of our legacy now, all of us, our gift to future generations. What happened? This house will stand as part of a unique, I had one more slide. Oh, well. Well, there we go. This house will stand as part of a unique and innovative opportunity to embrace historic preservation, inclusive storytelling, artistic appreciation, economic development, outdoor recreation, and watershed protection across one cohesive, preserved landscape. This house stands as a place of courage, collaboration, conflict, and conscience. This house has stood long before we came and will stand long after we are gone with a new purpose. We will open the doors of this once private home to the public, sharing these stories at a moment when history, art, culture, and nature matter so much to understanding where we have been, where we are, and where we hope to go. Thank you for being on this journey with us. If you want to see the place, if you're so inspired by what I had to say, we hope that you will come out on a Thursday. Randy Parker and I lead tours out on Thursday for anybody who wants to see this site for themselves, to walk the grounds, to walk on the floorboards of this historic home. Got one taker. We also invite you to come to some of our public programming. Every Saturday, we offer tours of the site. On June 12th, we're hosting our annual Summer Soiree event, a fundraiser in support of Susquehanna National Heritage Area, but it's right out there on the farm. You can come and you can have some fun, eat some good food, and see the place for yourself. And finally, on June 19th and 20th, we will be commemorating Juneteenth at the farm, including an outdoor screening of the movie Glory on June 19th. And on June 20th, we will be hiking from the farm down to the river, following in the footsteps of freedom seekers. And at the river's edge, we will get on boats and paddle across the Susquehanna River to Columbia Crossing, the site of Stephen Smith's lumber yard, the wealthiest Black man in America and a collaborator with the Mifflins. And we'll be following in those steps to honor those who crossed the river, made that dangerous check in honor of Juneteenth. So if you're looking for information, you can grab any one of my fan club at the table here and they can help you, or you can check our website.
Thank you for your presentation. As a fellow New Jersey born and raised, is it pork roll or Taylor ham?
Taylor ham.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
The wrong answer.
What is, as you're looking at the landscape of wonderful historic attractions, both, over both sides of the bridge, what's kind of your thought around the marketing, the regional sort of tourism marketing you'd like to do once you're ready to start pushing this as a destination?
I think that this area, in addition to all of the great work that has been done in outdoor recreation, and how this has become a destination for outdoor recreation in the last 2 decades, the story of the Underground Railroad is becoming more visible. It was always there, but it was not necessarily acknowledged in a way that it is today. Let's face it, we had 2 museums open on the same day in our heritage area last month that discuss Black history, the Crispus Attucks History and Culture Center and the Stevens and Smith Center for History and Democracy. That's amazing. And there are at least 2 more of those museums to come, us and the Underground Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania in Columbia. So this is going to become a destination where people can come and learn about this important but generally undertold part of American history. And the Underground Railroad in this region started early, much earlier than that out in Ohio. So this is a story that starts right at the birth of a new nation and can be a place of pilgrimage.
Again, thanks for being here. How will this site interact and collaborate with the Zimmerman site at Long Level?
Mm-hmm. So as many people know, we do own and operate the Zimmerman Center for Heritage. The interpretation there is going to change. Part of what goes on at the Zimmerman Center is it holds the Visions of the Susquehanna collection, which is a collection of contemporary Susquehanna River art that will be moving to this new museum. And what that will do is open up the house to talk more about the Dritt family that lived there in the 1700s, but also allow us to do more interpretation on the native peoples of the region, the Susquehannock Indians. We already have a gallery there, but we'll probably expand that out, working with federally recognized tribes. And we'll be directing people to both places. And of course, the Zimmerman Center is going to continue to be the site where our boat tours leave, because we don't have riverfront access that allows us to do boat tours out of the Zimmerman, out of SDC, the Discovery Center. But overall, we look at this Discovery Center as being almost like a national park visitor center. Like at Gettysburg, you go and you start at the visitor center. Some of you heard me say this morning. You go to the visitor center and you learn about what makes this area important, and then you're directed out into the landscape. So you'll be directed, if you're looking for a boat tour, looking for interpretation on the Native Americans or the Dritt family, to go to Zimmerman Center. So that's still going to be one of our sites. Yes.
Pete, can you talk about the timetable that you envision or aspire to? And everything depends on funding and approvals. We all know that.
Yes.
But if things go reasonably well, how do you see the major pieces of the Mifflin site development unfolding?
Great question. Thank you. So we have about $4.5 million right now in state RACP funding, congressionally directed spending, and some private money. We need about another $1 million, and we will be able to renovate the house and open it as an Underground Railroad Learning Center and construct an initial trail system on the property. And we intend to do that by the end of 2028. So there'll be an actual finished product there that people can come and visit as we do the work to raise the money that we need, the $26 million that we're going to need to build the art museum and the Discovery Center, with hopes of that opening in 2033. No.
Hey, Pete.
Hey, Jamie.
If I could be a student in your classroom, I absolutely would. I would wake up for 8 o'clock in the morning to listen to your lectures if they sound like that. So thank you for a great presentation.
I didn't pay her to say.
My question is zooming out, thinking bigger about York County and preservation. I remember talking with the previous owners about saving this location, and the argument was that at the time it was just a house and a field. Who's going to visit it? It takes money to save things. And so thankfully you were able to rally the community with a lot of support. And now this is going to transform into a beautiful visitor center and museum. But what would you say when you think about all the other efforts across the county to preserve, knowing that it takes money and funding to back it? In your opinion, what's that balance of how do we decide what's worth saving?
Yeah, how much, I only have a couple more minutes. No, I think that we have to look at the stories that happened there, and everything I think is in some levels worthy of preserving, but it's being able to get the attention and elevate those stories. And as Mark Platts, our president and CEO, has said, unfortunately, there's not a lot of money to save historic buildings, but there is a lot of money to save open space. And that was part of the calculus to save this property. I referenced Pennsylvania DCNR. They were the biggest contributor to saving this property, $2.1 million. So I think that being able to tell a good story about what to save and why this place is unique and important in the American story. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do here. That's how we have to rally. And unfortunately, not everything will be saved. So we just got to look for the victories we can get. Yes.
Hi, I am directionally challenged.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the map and I see where the Zimmerman Center is downriver.
Yes.
So you're upriver.
Yes.
And so you're going to be like right off the Wrightsville exit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get off the Wrightsville exit, go half a mile south, look at the rudders, turn left.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
And fortunately or unfortunately, the best landmark to getting there, you know where the rudders is in Wrightsville? Oh, yeah, I know where that is. Right across. But because of the commercial development Wrights Crossing Business Park that was constructed on our western edge, we are tucked back. So there are people that pass that all the time and then will come to me and go, I didn't know there was a farm back there. And that's something that we are going to have to contend with. Come on, I know somebody's got some more questions. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing the importance of preserving our history, telling the story, and celebrating the creativity and the arts that are inspired by nature. I'm excited to see this project come to life. And while 2033 sounds like it's far away, but 2026 got here before we knew it. So I forgot the book on the table, but our speaker has signed a book to be donated to the York YWCA Early Childhood. Thank you, Vanna. Early Child Care Center. My gosh. Along with a bookmark made by students at Creative York, and it is octopus themed again this week. I think there must have been a sale on octopus books. Next week, we will hear from Sandy Walker, who was elected mayor of the city of York in November of 2025 and sworn into office on January 5th, 26th. A proud graduate of William Penn Senior High School and the University of Richmond, she has dedicated her life to public service, youth development, and community leadership, serving as a former city council president, school board director, and founder of programs that expand opportunities for York's youth. In this presentation, Mayor Walker will discuss how her administration is aligning city departments, strengthening partnerships with community stakeholders, and implementing structured processes to improve how the city operates. She will highlight efforts focused on accountability, public safety, and improving neighborhood conditions through coordinated action. Ultimately, her work is centered on building a stronger, more responsive city that residents can be proud to call home. With that, our meeting is adjourned. We will see you next week.